the first prompt is going to be very simple. Just ask what is so and so and see how ChatGPT answers your question. At the second step, engineer your prompt. I'll give you some examples as to how you should be doing that. I'm just waiting for the projector to start. Once that happens, I will show you an example framework which you can use to engineer your prompt to create lesson plans on the same topic. At the third stage, what we do is, for the same topic, we assume that we are the researcher. Just like how you are doing your PhDs, let's assume we want ChatGPT to write a literature review for us, which means we will have to re-engineer the prompt. The earlier prompt we used will be of no use because the earlier prompt was for creating lesson plans. When you want to create a literature review, now the prompt has to change. How do you change the prompt in each of these scenarios so that you get the best out of a very simple tool like strategy? Yeah? Okay. So they're all the recording, everything can happen on our system so that the system here is not affected. So go ahead, set up your ChatGPTs, and then we are going to find this particular resource called AI for Education.io. I'll share how that looks in a moment. You can even turn off a few lights at the end. That also helps sometimes. Okay, so once you have set your ChatGPT, you're going to find this resource. It is called AI for Education.io. That is the address for the website. So this is the page that I want you to land at. So arrive at this page and then we'll see how we proceed from here. Or I could show you in one flow and then you would do it for yourself. So once you're on this page, scroll down and you'll see all of this. Keep scrolling, you'll see this free resource center, and under which you'll see something called prompt library for educators. Now this site is a great resource for you to build your prompts, understand how you can improve on your prompts, especially as teachers, as educators in the higher ed sector. So now, when you pick on this prompt library, you'll see a lot of different categories. I'm going to pick this option called lesson planning. And under lesson planning, I'm going to pick this particular category called lesson plans. And when I do that, you see there is a lesson plan idea prompt and there is an example prompt. Now this will teach you how exactly should you be designing a prompt. So instead of asking just a simple question, look at the prompt. It says you're an expert science teacher, proficient in creating engaging, well-developed, effective lesson plans. Your task is to come up with 3 ideas for lesson plans. Each lesson plan should be 45 minutes long. The focus should be on plate. So they are working with geography lessons. So it should be on plate tectonics, earthquakes, so long and so forth. And then every lesson should be engaging or appropriate. So this basically gives every single instruction that ChatGPT would require to give an appropriate lesson plan. So we are going to use a similar structure, create a similar prompt. So I think in the next 2 to 3 minutes, I'll show you how I have done it so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. And I believe these row lights can also be turned off for better visibility here. Yeah, looks good. So now on my ChatGPT, I have worked with this already. So I'll show you how that looks like. Maybe just leave this one light on so that my face is to certain, just this one on. The rest you can turn off. Okay. So can I have your attention on the screen for 2 minutes? So I'm going to show you the same example that I mentioned yesterday. So in the first case, what was my prompt? So my prompt is just what is photosynthesis. And when my prompt is so simple, the output is also simple. So it gives me the definition, the equation, and maybe explains each of those reactions in simple terms. But when I change my prompt, so this is what I'm talking about when I say prompt engineering. When you look at the screen, you'll see that I have given sufficient details for the tool to understand my requirement better, and therefore the output would also be better. So, how do you engineer such a prompt to help you engineer your first prompt? That is the reason why I have introduced this resource so that you can Google for this resource and have this as an example and create your own prompt based on this example, based on this template, and then use it into ChatGPT. Just like how I have added this detailed prompt into ChatGPT, you can design your own prompt based on the example here and then add it into ChatGPT or Claude or whichever tool you have picked. And then you'll see that the entire answer, the structure changes. Now, in my case, the content that ChatGPT has put out is relevant for grade 6 students, and it has given me all the necessary analogies that I can use in the classroom. And also, it tells me how, because after NEP, everything is about cross subject learning. So, interdisciplinary is the buzzword with NEP, and NEP affects school education as well. So, now I have ideas as to how I can link this concept of photosynthesis between multiple subjects, and also have suggestions how I can engage my students in experiential learning activities through role plays, through observations, and all of these. It even gives me a suggestion for creating a photosynthesis song, and also gives me what kind of homework assignments I can set. Now, at the third stage, I'm no longer a teacher, I'm a researcher. I want to see if this prompt engineering will also work for me as a teacher. So I have designed yet another prompt. Only now I'm an expert in this field, and I'm trying to give a talk to my colleagues or my peers who are also similarly experts. The only goal here is to update them about the latest developments in this field of photosynthesis. So now the reply now changes. So now there's a proper synthesis of literature, and the tool has included the appropriate citations for all the information, because without the citations, I am not there to step on a stage and give this information to experts in the room. So that is also taken care of. Not just that, one more thing I like about this reply is that most of these references come from the last 5 years. You'll see that the references only start from as early as 2019, which means all of this information is recent, happened in the last 5 years, and the references are also appropriately collated at the end of the talk or at the end of the literature synthesis. Now, this is something I can use on a talk. This is something I can use for writing my introduction or discussion sections in a research proposal or in a manuscript. So this is how, when you change prompts, the outputs keep changing. So I'm going to give you the next 5 to 7 minutes to explore two different types of prompts. One prompt for you as an educator, as a teacher, to teach a concept to your class of students, no matter which stage they are in. The second task is for you to create a prompt that will help you as a researcher to create a literature synthesis for your paper or for your proposal, which means that has to derive from the right sources with citations, with references. So that is your task. You're going to engineer two prompts, one for lesson plans and one for your literature synthesis. Okay. Yeah. I hope those of you who joined online, it's clear for you as well. And if you have any questions, just go ahead, raise your hands or start asking. This being a very small room, you can interrupt as many times as you want. Okay, so I'm going to show you once again where I found these lesson plan examples. You're at the home on this website called aiforeducation.io, and the internet is slow. Okay, just scroll down when you're on the page and you find this free resource center. Just below that, you'll find something called Prompt Library for Educators. Scroll down, you see lesson planning. Click on lesson planning. Scroll down once again. You have this blue box called lesson plans. Click that and you land on this page, which will have an idea prompt and also an example prompt that you can use for your own prompt engineering. What happened? Just okay.
Thanks.
So I have picked lesson plans because that is one thing you can very easily validate because you already must have some lesson plans on the topic. It gets easier. And for those of you joining late, we are starting with a small exercise on ChatGPT where we are trying to design prompts which will help you create lesson plans and create a literature review. And for that, what you see on the screen is an example prompt. So based on the example you see on the screen, you can design your own prompts to create a lesson plan for a topic of your choice and then create a literature review for the same topic. Yeah. You can also get creative and make very specific changes. Say, for instance, you have already taught certain parts of the topic. Tell that also to ChatGPT. Say that these topics have already been covered. The students have some base knowledge here. So build upon the base knowledge into the next few topics and so on. Okay, so are we done? Are we ready for the next tool? Or do you need 2 more minutes? So, as a researcher, yeah, so you want to know how to design a prompt for ChatGPT. So think what are your requirements? And you want ChatGPT to write a literature for you. One of the first requirements is that it should bring information only from legitimate sources. So ask your question and then instruct ChatGPT. I want answers only from journal articles. I want only journals that were or papers published only in the last 5 years to be considered. Or say restrict your answers only to Q1, Q2, and Q3 journals. Do not use Q4 journals. And then also instruct that the answers have to be double checked and every single sentence should have an appropriate citation and all of these citations should be listed as references at the end of the literature review. You can also mention how many words you want. You can say, I want 1,000 word literature review on this topic. And even within that, you can instruct ChatGPT to focus on certain perspectives and kind of ignore the others and so on. So there is no hard and fast rule that, okay, a prompt should have only 5 sentences. A prompt should have that. A prompt should have that. Nothing of that sort. A prompt is a way by which you communicate your requirements to ChatGPT. So just like how you would communicate it to a human, try and communicate every single requirement to ChatGPT, and then you get a better answer. That's how it is. Okay, so we cannot spend much time on ChatGPT because our goal is not to master ChatGPT. We are starting out with ChatGPT only to set that as a baseline to show you that even something as simple as ChatGPT can get your job done to a certain extent. But now, even though you see all these references nicely on ChatGPT, there is still a very high chance that at least one or two of those references are false because ChatGPT tends to do that. It includes inaccurate and references that do not even exist. So instead of asking your research questions to ChatGPT, why don't you ask them to an academic tool like Consensus? So, can I have your attention on the screen for 2 minutes? So, we are going to start with three academic tools, where I'm going to ask my research question. And my research question is intermittent fasting good for diabetes? Because this is something we all should know, considering the increasing rate of diabetes that we all have in our families. So let us say I ask a very simple question. Is it good for type 2 diabetes? Okay. And then I'm going to copy the same question and keep it ready. So here I don't have to do any sort of prompt engineering. I don't have to tell the tool that okay, use only academic sources, add citations, add references. That is not necessary because the tool by default knows that is what it's supposed to do. However, I can add a few filters. So I can pick that I only want papers published after 2020 to be included in my search. And say maybe I only want open access papers to be included. Or I want only papers that have at least a minimum of 10 citations. And then say only papers that follow certain methodology. Or do you want it to be only from specific quality journals? So I'm okay with Q1, Q2, and Q3. Do I want to restrict it to very specific fields? Say maybe I only want results from medical journals. And I'm okay with the results coming from any country. But if you want to restrict it to specific countries, you can do all of this in consensus by applying a suitable filter and then click the search icon, and now consensus by default is going to go look for a nice summary answer for my question from journal articles published after 2020, and every single sentence, every single information that the tool gives me has a reference. So now to know where this sentence originated from, I just have to place my cursor on the citation number, and there is a pop-up. Just click on the title. You'll be taken to the much larger version of the paper, and then you are interested in knowing the full text. If the full text is available, that also happens. Just click on the PDF. You get the full PDF. This will work only when it is an open access paper. Consensus cannot give you access to subscription based ones, but if it is open access, you get access to the paper. So now I have a nice summary, and I also have a list of references listed just below. And I can save these references on my library, and when I do that, the entire literature collection will be stored on this same icon you see on the left panel. So on consensus, you get to ask a research question, you get to have validated answers from journal articles, you also get to go and read the full text articles if they are available, and if you want so, you can also create your literature collection on consensus. So all of this from keywords until literature collection can happen on consensus. Now, once you are done exploring consensus, I want you to just copy paste the same question into two more tools. The first tool is called Edison, and the next tool is called SciSpace, which is at typeset.io right now. So don't do anything with these tools. Just place the question, click on search, and leave it at that. And we'll come to these tools in a bit. So now I'm going to give you 5 minutes to explore your question in consensus. Remember, this is a question that you'll be using throughout this process. So pick a good research question, a question that you actually want to work upon, because maybe by the end of the day, you can even create a very rough draft of your manuscript if you do this right. So once you have the summary, you can actually copy paste the summary into a Word document, and you can have it for your reference. So that will form the groundwork or the base work from which you're going to be writing your papers. So get your summary from consensus, put it onto your papers, and you can save all of these 10, mostly you get 10 references. You can save the references into consensus by using this save symbol that you see here. So keep saving all of those papers. You can create a folder of your own and save these papers so that when you are ready, you can just go into the saved folder and from here you get to export this folder, your entire literature collection as an RAS file or as a CSV file which is not of much use from consensus. Download it as an RAS file and you can take your entire bibliographic information directly to Mendeley, Zotero or InNote because at the end of the day we want all our papers to be in a reference manager so that we can cite them directly into our MS Word or LaTeX applications. So 5 minutes to explore consensus and also to place your questions into elicit and SciSpace. Yes, for you to use these tools like the way I do here on the screen, these I'm also on the free version. You have to log in. If you're on your laptops, that makes it very simple. If you're logged into your Gmail accounts, you can just use your Google account to quickly log into these tools. You don't have to sign up each time one after the other. So we are focusing on three tools now: consensus, elicit, and SciSpace. Ask the same question to consensus, elicit, and SciSpace so that you're able to compare how these tools work with respect to each other. But this 5 minutes, the focus is only on consensus. Ask your question, see how consensus gives you a summary answer, check out all the references that consensus suggests. You can also go down and on the left panel also you have some features which you can check out. And if you have any questions, just go ahead, call around, I'm here. Sorry? Which one are you asking? The download option you mean? No. So whatever is available, that's the formats. Just where is my list? Okay. So yes, one is an Excel file, CSV file, and the other is an RIS file. Those are the only two options you have. But why do you need a Word document? You can just copy paste the summary into your Word. And for that we have a different app. So on consensus, don't worry that the options to export and download are limited. It is not a problem because we have other apps where we can download and extract data. On consensus, your focus should be on the summary, the nice detailed summary. This is what is special about consensus. So once you are done exploring consensus, let us now move on to elicit and SciSpace. So please look at the screen for 2 minutes. I'll show you how I'll explore these tools and then you can go ahead and do it on your own. Okay. So on elicit, when you ask this question, yes, you get a summary from the top 4 papers, or when you're on the premium version from the top 8 papers. But it is not the summary that we are interested in when we are using elicit, but rather we are interested in this tabular column that you see below. You don't have to do anything. By default, elicit will open up this tabular column for you, and on the tabular column, you get to add different columns. So the first column right here already added is abstract summary, and say for instance, I want to know the methodology. I am someone who's trying to devise the methodology for my own research, and it helps if I can find the methodology from existing papers. Or say you want to discuss some other very specific aspects like what was the theoretical framework, or what were the future research options that were suggested, what were the statistical and experimental techniques used in multiple papers. You can add all of these columns, but when you're on the free version, you're only allowed to add 2 columns. You have to be on the paid version if you want to add multiple columns. And by default, elicit will gain collect information from multiple papers. The advantage with tools like elicit is that you see for every information that you have collected on the tabular column, you can quickly check out the corresponding reference. So this, you don't have to blindly trust that this information is true. You can always go back to the original source, right back to the original source to see if the information is right. And when you look at this new column that I added called methodology, elicit has definitely done a good job in bringing out a lot of key information from these multiple papers. And if you want more papers, you can keep adding more papers. It will easily go up to 60, 70 papers at least. But The limitation with Elicit is that on the free version you only get to have two columns, and one other limitation is that when you want to copy each of this information, you have to manually copy it and then take it into a Word document. And similar to what we saw with consensus, here again you have a lot of filters that you can apply. Do you only want answers or papers from the most recent articles? Or are you more focused on the number of citations that an article gets? Or do you want to restrict it based on the publication year, the quality of the journal, your study time? And in addition, you also get to add inclusion exclusion keywords. So you can add only papers that have certain keywords and exclude papers which have certain other keywords. And all of this will work only when you're on the, at least this export option here will be applied only when you're on the Pro version. So here again, the export option is pretty similar to what you see with consensus. You can export this entire tabular column with hundreds of papers and around 20, 30 columns that you want. The entire information, the entire table can be downloaded as a CSV file, which will eventually become your Excel sheet, and all the information can be taken offline for you to work at your convenience. A second download that you can do is you can download it as an RIS file, which is the file that will have the bibliographic information, and that can be moved into your reference manager like Mendeley or Zuriro. So similar to Elicit, the next tool is SciSpace. So I'm introducing both of these tools parallelly because they are similar tools. Knowing both of them together will help you quickly compare the features. So similar to consensus and similar to Elicit, you have your summary from top 5 papers or top 10 papers if you're on the Pro version. I am on the Pro version, I believe. Yeah, I'm on the Pro version. So my summary comes from 10 papers, but when you are on the free version, your summary comes from 5 papers. And the size-based summary is much more detailed than Elicit summary. It is similar to consensus summary. So at the beginning stage, you create these answers from consensus, Elicit, and size-based. Copy all these answers into one Word document, so that you now have all the base information that you need to actually start writing your papers. And just below that, you'll see tabular columns similar to what we saw with Elicit. But one good thing about SciSpace is it lets you add many more columns even on the free version. So say I have added a column for methodology, I have added a column for research gap, one column for future research, one for limitations. So between all of these, I have a good clear idea as to what research questions are pending in this field, and it will help me come up with my own research questions. And similar to the previous two tools we saw, you can also add filters, choose only papers with PDF, papers with open access, or do you only want top papers? Top papers are basically papers which have very good number of citations and references. Or based on the year, based on publication type, you can also explore all of these filters. And once you're done making your columns, similar to what you saw with Elicit, here again you have multiple options, but they can be broadly divided into two. You have options where you can download the data as a tabular column, and the second set of options is where you can download the bibliographic information and move it into your reference manager. SciSpace has much more to offer. I'll touch upon that in a while, but now I'm going to give you 5 minutes to use and compare consensus, Elicit, and SciSpace with regards to the general summary. Also compare the tabular columns between Elicit and SciSpace. Though you ask the same question, though both of these tools have access to the same Google Scholar that you and I have, they come up with very different insights, very different looking tabular columns. That is why when it comes to AI, it helps to know multiple tools. Instead of depending on just one tool, if you have multiple tools, then combining the information from multiple tools will give you a much more efficient way to gain information, and that's what you're going to do for the next 5 to 7 minutes. Focus on consensus, Elicit, SciSpace. One aspect is the summary, the second aspect is the tabular column. Let's do this for 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll come back to SciSpace because SciSpace has much more to offer than just a summary and the tabular columns. So are we ready for the next steps or do you need a few more minutes? Okay. So how many of you are done exploring these three aspects and are ready for the next step? Okay. What about the others? So a few more minutes, 2 to 3 more minutes maybe. And each time you create a summary with any of the tools, make sure you copy paste it into a Word document. That way, by the time you leave for today, you almost have a draft idea of where your literature synthesis should be headed towards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with the next part because then we'll be right in time for the tea break. Okay,
Just give me a moment.
someone wants to
be a
be a part of the call.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
so where are we? Can I have all your attention on the screen for 2 minutes? So one difference with SciSpace is that SciSpace is slowly aiming to become an all-purpose tool. So they started out as a data extraction tool, but then the team does not want to stay as a just data extraction tool. They also want to evolve into a writing tool, which can also help you manage your references. Maybe going down the lane, also do a bit of proofreading and whatnot. So because of this ambition of the team, that you create these data extraction tables on SciSpace, you don't even have to export them. You can save it right here. SciSpace is going to have all your tables saved. You save it. In addition, when you see such summaries and when you're interested in having this summary on your Word document, just one of these summaries, you see there is a pop-up called Save to Notebook. Do you see this on the screen? Just below a paragraph, when I hover my mouse over a paragraph, a pop-up comes which says Save to Notebook. Just click on that, and when you do that, this summary that you were interested in is taken into a document within the SciSpace interface that looks like a Word document. So let me delete everything I have at the moment and say I want this research gap to be added to my notebook, gets added. And also because SciSpace has something called an AI writer, the moment you add a few sentences and give a space, SciSpace will automatically start generating the next sentence. If you're happy with the next sentence, click on tab, give a space. SciSpace will continue writing this for you until you stop the tool when you're on the pro version. If you're on the free version, you'll be stopped at around 1200 words, I believe. I'm not sure, I forgot that. But it must be somewhere around 1000 words every day. Every 24 hours, you get to generate 1000 words on the free version. On the pro version, it's pretty much endless. So why is this interesting? This is interesting because you can extract data within the tool. You can also write within the tool. You don't have to keep jumping between one application to the other application to create your literature synthesis. Say what if you don't want to create from somewhere in between. So this is just a summary out of nowhere. What if you can use this AI writing feature to write from scratch? That can also happen. So open a new writer. This is where you'll find the writer on the left panel on SciSpace. You have this AI writer. Click on AI writer. You'll have this MS Word like interface. And wherever you want to write, click on the cursor. Then go into this feature called AI writer. You have an option where you can start from scratch, like build an outline, for instance. So say I'm going to use the same topic and I'm going to ask the tool to build an outline on this topic. Sometimes there will be some glitches because remember, these tools are still in the beta version, they are still learning. So you should give them that credit sometimes. Then click on enter or just enter. Where's my outline? Okay, let us try this one more time. Okay, that was disappointing. But normally, when the tool is not glitching like today, what will happen when you use this feature is it will create a TOC for you or the table of contents. So you'll have proper headings, main headings, you will have second level headings, and then you can use this tool once again to create second level, also third level headings. So you have a perfect, complete TOC, and once you have this complete TOC, you can start asking the tool to write. So how do you do that? For which you use this feature or say I want to continue writing here, I can place my cursor, and because here when you see it is all good, writing paragraph after paragraph is great, but this text is not of much use to me if it does not have a citation and reference. So that is where this feature called continue writing with citations can come in handy. And okay, just because so many of us are accessing the tool from one space, that is the problem here.
So basically, when
When we use this feature called continue writing with citations, the tool will continue writing in the AI feature. The only difference is now it will not be just the text. The text will have proper citations, it will have proper references. So I'm going to just log out and come back. In the meantime, you can check out this feature. So you can also ask the tool to write introduction, write conclusion, or sometimes you want someone to help you prepare the opposing arguments. You're so bent on one thought process that you miss out on the opposing arguments. In such cases, you can ask the tool to do it. So when you access the tool, when too many of you access the tool from the same connection or the same place, then sometimes this tends to happen. Oh. So this is the outline feature. So now I have a complete set of first level headings for my topic right here. So what happens when I want to create the second level of headings in this TOC? Just place your cursor at the second level or the second line, copy this title, and then after you place your cursor where you want the second level of headings to be generated, click on the outline builder once again. And now give your main heading as the query. Now what happens is The tool has helped you create a set of subsections. And by doing this constantly, so you first had the first level of headings, pick each of those first level of headings, create the second level of headings, pick a second level heading, put it into the tool and get a third level of headings and so on. By doing this over and over again, you will have a very clean framework of all the different topics, all the different perspectives that you can explore within this literature review framework. And when you want to start from, or say when you want the tool to continue writing with citations, just click on AI Writer once again and click on Continue Writing with Citations. Now the AI will give you content, but this time the content will have citations. And if you scroll below, you'll also have the reference list. Not just that, you can also choose the reference style that you are interested in. And this reference style will include more than 10,000 different journals. So any journal you are trying to write to, you can pick the name of the journal, pick the reference style of the journal, and this reference style will be automatically applied to your entire reference list. So now this was the AI writing feature. Also, when we talked about data extraction, initially in SciSpace, you don't have much control on what papers get added to the tabular column, which might not be useful always. What if I have 100 papers, I have the PDF of 100 papers, I want to extract data from my own 100 papers, not from some random 100 papers that SciSpace suggests. In that case, you'll be using this feature called extract data. So on the left panel on SciSpace, you have this feature called extract data. Click on that, and now you can upload your own PDFs. So I believe these are my, just a moment. I hope these are papers. So now I have added my own papers to the existing library. By doing this, you can even extract data from subscription-based papers. How do you do that? You source the PDF of these subscription papers from elsewhere, and then you use this collection of PDFs you have on your computer. You just upload the entire collection of PDFs into SciSpace, and you get to extract data, make those tabular columns we talked about using this feature. So the next feature that SciSpace offers is this feature called Chat with PDF or the SciSpace Copilot, for which you can upload a paper and read the paper efficiently. I did demonstrate this tool in the lecture yesterday. I already have some papers uploaded, so I'm going to pick one of the papers. This was suggested by a participant from an earlier session. So just give me a moment. I'm going to admit a few people into the online session. Okay. So now, once I have uploaded a paper into SciSpace, this is how it looks like. And say I don't understand this section of the paper. This is a sociology paper, and I really do not understand some of the terminologies. So let us assume I don't understand this paragraph. All I have to do is just use my mouse, select the section which I don't understand, and click on Explain Text. When I do that, the tool will explain every single terminology on this text like it explains to a novice researcher. So it tells me what are the challenges that this paragraph is talking about. So where is the noise coming from? Okay. And it gives me the definitions and explanations for every single terminology. So what is a chemical fertilizer? What is a pesticide? And what are the different topics that this paragraph talks about? So I gave hardly 10 lines into the tool, and I pretty much have an entire essay trying to explain to me what this paragraph is all about. Now this not only works for text, this also works for equations. So let us go find an equation. So this is the equation which I don't understand. Okay. Today's SciSpace is having many more glitches than it should. This also happens when you use the tool too many times. Okay, so now we have this feature enabled. So say I want explanations for this equation. I don't understand this equation. So click on explain math and table. You get a screenshot option. Screenshot the equation you want explanations for, and the tool will pick up the screenshot and it is going to start adding explanations for every single term on the equation. It will explain the equation as a whole, give me a short summary, and so on. So I get explanations for every single component, what it means, where is it derived from, what does it represent. Every single information is there at my fingertips. In addition, for any given paragraph, I also get to summarize the paragraph. I also get to find related papers. I also can save this paragraph to my notebook, the writing platform on SciSpace. I can also save it into the notebook and then edit it, paraphrase it. You name it, that is a possibility. So now, in addition to all of these features, one other feature I particularly like about SciSpace is this paraphraser. So paraphraser, normally you place a text and then you paraphrase it, you reduce the word count in English. But in SciSpace, it also gives you an additional feature where you can translate your content. So the last session I did was for an institute, a pharmaceutical institution in Guntur. It's called CHIPS, Chebralu Hanumaya Pharmaceutical Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. We just had this session 2-3 days back, and that is where we did this Telugu translation. So you should tell me how good this paraphrasing is. I cannot read Telugu. I can hardly understand Telugu. So is it good? My previous participants are definitely impressed. So I know it works well because I have done this translation in Bengali, in Kannada, in Malayalam, in Tamil, in Hindi, German, because I had a German participant on one of our earlier sessions. I have tried this in Chinese with one of the participants. And irrespective of the language, people were really happy with how good the translation comes out. So this is a tool you can use for science communication. So when you discover something nice and novel, when you do your PhDs and research, it is not sufficient that you only keep publishing papers in all these high-end journals. You should also communicate your results to the general public, say in the form of newspapers, newsletters, internal communication and whatnot. In such cases, it's pretty difficult to find a translator that can do such a good job with technical terms. So when you're stuck like that, you should think about SciSpace. But you can also use SciSpace in the normal way where you convert English text to English text, where you shorten the text, where you increase the variation, and so on. Yes, that's a very straightforward way in which you use the paraphraser, but a tangential way is to use it as a translator. So what did we do in the last 5 minutes? We are exploring SciSpace in detail. So SciSpace not only as a tool to extract data from hundreds of papers, but also how you can quickly move the extracted data into a word-like feature on SciSpace, and how that feature will automatically keep writing, filling in your literature review. It can help you build an outline, write specific sections of your paper. It can also help you convert your references from one style to the other. It has 10,000 different reference styles. Then we introduce this feature called extract data, where you don't have to rely on SciSpace to pick out papers for you. You can upload your own papers that you have downloaded and you have it on your system. You can upload them and then get the data. In addition, we talked a bit about this chat with PDF option, where you can input your PDF papers, ask for explanations in text, in tables, in equations. You can also ask for related papers. Then we briefly touched upon the paraphraser tool because it also doubles up as an amazing translation tool for several of the local Indian languages. So now I'm going to give you 10 minutes to explore SciSpace in detail before we break for the tea, and then we'll come back and go into the literature mapping tools. So that's that. 5 to 7 minutes for you to spend with SciSpace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, I can understand that you will have limitations on SciSpace because you're on the free version. But is that my voice? Okay. So that's how it is. So if you want to experience any of these tools in their entirety, you will have to go for the pro version. But for minimal requirements, they still work. No. You mean the Word document? You don't have to. Just Control A, Control C, paste it into your Word. You can, but there's no specific download option, I believe. Here for the notebook option, you can just, at least not on the free version. Let me check. Huh. Okay. Yeah, you have an option where you can export it as a document. But I believe that is available only on the paid version and not on the free version. You can check it out. But if it is not available, don't worry. Just Control A, Control C, it will work. It's a Word document, right? So copy, paste it, and copy, paste it. So SciSpace does not specify a limit. They have a limit on the size of each file. but on the overall size, they don't have a limit. So when I talked to the team, this was a question that I had. They are like, you can virtually upload 200, 300 papers and the tool will still hold. So there will not be much of an upper limit on the number of files. No, I think Elicit might have, but Elicit offers very little on the free version. So if you want to explore those tools, you must go for the paid version of Elicit. Apart from that, where do we upload files in Elicit? I think you can upload it directly to library, and once it is on the library, you can do the data extraction. But there might be a limit on the number of papers you can upload, and you can also connect it to Zotero. That is the reason why I will be talking about Zotero in the afternoon session, because once your reference manager is Zotero, Zotero is not only a free tool, it is also an open source tool, which means nobody owns Zotero. Therefore, most of these AI tools, they are very comfortable in incorporating Zotero into their interface. So if you have Zotero, you don't have to do all this download RAS file, download BibTeX file, none of that. Just one button click, your entire Zotero library will sync to your AI tools like LitMaps, for instance, which we will be talking about after the break. So coming back to your question, you can upload individual papers here on the library in Elicit. You can also directly import your entire Zotero collection into Elicit, but on the free version, there will be limitations as to the number of papers you can actually add. So are we ready for the tea break? The more important question is the tea ready? It's ready? Okay. So we have got a thumbs up. So you can all start running to grab your tea and freshen up before you come back and we start exploring the literature mapping tools. One minute, ma. Size space. It is not exactly a voiceover option. It's an option where, so the question here we are discussing is, does SciSpace have a voiceover option? It has, but it is a derived option. As in, you can upload a paper that you publish, because SciSpace is trying to create a community like ResearchGate, academia.edu. So you can upload your own published papers, and SciSpace has a small tool where you can convert your published papers into something like a podcast or something like a video abstract. And on that video abstract, SciSpace by default adds a summary, and that will also read out. It will pick a voice which will read your video summary, maybe like a small automated presentation. But then you have leverage to add your own notes. You can add your own voice and make it like a comprehensive small clip of your individual paper, and that will be published to the community. When that happens, the community can quickly get acquainted with your paper. They don't have to read your full text PDF. In less than 2 minutes or so, they'll get the gist of your paper, and if they like what they see, they'll go to read your entire paper. So this feature is provided to build a community, to give more access, more visibility to your paper. But this works after your papers are published. So normally you will have an author profile, and all your published papers will be linked to your author profile, similar to what you see on your Google Scholar profile. And then each of those papers can be converted into a video abstract. That's how it works. So I see there's an online question from Shahira. You cannot export without the premium plan, Shahira. So that is how these tools convert you from a free user to the premium user, right? So you had a question, no? Was supposed to ask something? Yeah. Hi, Dr. Raja Rao. You have a question? answer your question, Dr. Raja Rao, I think you're asking in terms of copyright for the data extracted from multiple papers. There is no specific copyright issue because these are literature, they are published, and normally that is how you work. You take the information from these these papers that are published, and then you rewrite it and present it into your own papers, right? So similarly, you can the only catch here is you cannot just go ahead and copy paste everything that SciSpace offers you into your final manuscripts. Use the content that comes out of SciSpace as the starting material, and then based on that, you will be writing or building your own literature review. So use SciSpace as a tool to quickly extract information from multiple papers. It is basically a glorified Google or a glorified search engine. That is all it is. Don't consider the extracted information as the final output that goes on to your final manuscripts. When you do this, there are no copyright issues. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, hi. I'm Vishnupriya PhD. Okay. One of the colleague of Radheshwar Maharaj. Okay. Sir, I'm also just registered in my TH. Okay. Please sit. Okay, just pull this. I just registered my but I don't know any knowledge that are related to research how to choose
Okay, how to pick a topic. So,
everything on the basic. I have to now approach my guide for giving me this topic. Not just acceptance is going where acceptance. So please, can you give me some guidance related to this? If I have to, I need to do this work alone. I have to start from starting stage.
so the best place for you is still your supervisor
Yes.
because they'll have more knowledge in your field to know what exactly is the trending topic. And also, normally, what supervisors tend to do is they pick a topic that they're already working on, and then they try to give you a new question so that you can work on, and all of this will align with what is being
Some of the
published.
supervisors are not going to give. They're giving the option to give me work.
Yes,
From
yes.
my side.
In that case, the only thing you can do is you can read multiple papers, and tools like SciSpace will help you do that. They are going to help you identify which papers you should be reading. So first, you can ask your question into Sciencebase and see the research gap, the limitations, the future directions that are mentioned in papers in your field in the past, say 4 to 5 years or so, and then you come up with your own questions. And when you come up with your own questions, you should still keep putting these questions back into these tools, back and forth, to see that nobody else has actually answered the question. So it is not straightforward. It is not like, I cannot like tell you, okay, this is the tool, go ahead, you find your research question. It is not always that simple. It will take at least a month or two and very intensive reading before you can finalize your research question.
So I will do my
Yes.
best, but in between this journey, if I get any doubts related to
Yeah,
this,
you can give me a call. Just drop a message and I'll call you.
so my name is Krishnan.
Yeah. Just drop a message on WhatsApp. Thank you so much. So that WhatsApp is the easiest way for me to
Yes.
communicate.
Okay. The same number.
Yes, same number. Just one number. No confusion. So
Okay.
okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Now, I think in the yesterday class, given that we are going to be uh, giving some classes like
Yeah. We'll have a 10-day workshop.
10-day workshop, not like that, or want to join continuously, they want to communicate with you for getting guidance and is I have to pay
No, normally if you have some small questions, you don't have to pay. I don't charge for consultations unless it is a very, very comprehensive consultation where I have to sit with your paper or where I have to work with your research proposal, where we have to sit on a video call for half an hour, 1 hour or so. Unless that happens, I'm not charging.
we have to ask the technology
Try.
like tutorials are like
No, I'll do only the workshops, online workshops.
entrepreneurship is with the internet as a small company like
Yes, I do have it.
on that small company. So if I want to do the work or if I want to join in that to work.
Okay, so you want to work as a part of a company, then mostly we only hire people who have finished their PhDs and who are doing their postdoctoral work. Right? So because we need people who have already published papers and who have good knowledge on how to do that, only then you can be a part of the.
I want to publish paper of my work. So I to do the work. They do, but I need some directions to choose how to.
Yes, for that we have a team.
Teacher.
We have a team. We can do that.
Teaching sides we have to.
What happened?
Someone is asking about the brightness of the
Brightness up. Okay.
For the last one, it is not taking
The screen is not visible.
brightness is reading.
I think brightness is more of a light issue, right? It is not a problem of the power issue.
this
It's more of a light issue.
Have it. No problem.
Yeah, so we have a team. You can reach out to us, and we don't write manuscripts, but we edit it. So we edit it.
If I write my life basic and I will post you to say, check and give me some suggestions to correct it. It is you are going to be
Yeah, I don't do that. Yeah, so it is charged. It's a service with proper charges, and I'll not be involved mostly in that. But you can always drop a mail, and we'll take that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
See, that is because the screen is not solid. It is moving, right? And also it's a projector problem. By changing the screen, you will not change it.
So we're trying.
What you can do is just give the Google Meet link to those who cannot see the screen. Let them see it on their own screens. That is the easiest way to do it. You can just copy the Google Meet link, the ID, and whoever cannot see the screen, let them just join the Google Meet. Leave it, I'll do it. I'll add it when I'm starting the session. Did you guys have your tea? First it, soar, then only everything else. Yeah. Had yours? Yes. Just put this on away. Leave it on. See. Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah. This is the only place we can stand because this is where you have light. So you should only go back because if you go back, then you'll not be able to see your face. Yeah. Nice. That is the most difficult thing to do for me at least. Thank you. Ma'am, no, ma'am, the delivery department, she is very much interested in technologies. Very different. Yeah. Yes, very same place. We don't have a Right. Just in case. Yeah. So welcome back. Today we are on a time crunch. It's not like yesterday where we had all the liberty of time because I have a flight to catch. So let's slowly get started. I'm going to close my tabs and start off with the literature mapping tools. And I want you to explore three tools specifically. The first is called Litmaps. The second is called Insightful. Oh. Okay, let me also. What did I do? Okay, I think I just left the Google Meet call. I'll just join back once again. Okay, just okay. So if you are at the back of the room who feel you cannot see the projector screen properly, you can just talk to those kids. They have the Google Meet ID for you. You can join in through the call. In that case, you'll be able to see my screen right on your own laptops. Okay. So
hi, welcome back to those of you on the online session as well. Okay, so now that we are completely set, let me start sharing my screen. Share. Okay, so welcome back to the penultimate part of today's session. So we're going to be discussing on literature mapping tools. What are literature mapping tools? These are basically tools that can help you start with just a handful of papers, even one paper, or a few keywords, and end up building your literature collection. And I want you to quickly explore three tools before we break for lunch. If time permits, we'll also be doing something else. But for now, at least three tools. So you have Litmaps, you have Insightful, and then there is a tool called Research Rabbit. So these are the three literature mapping tools that I'm introducing, and I'll tell you why I have picked out these tools specifically. So the first tool that I would like to introduce is one of the most exhaustive literature mapping tools available is called Litmaps. So on Litmaps, you can start without even logging in, but then the functionalities are limited. So my suggestion is always log in. How would you log in? You will just log in using your Google account. Very uncomplicated. Yeah. So give it 2 minutes. No, my account is already signed in. I'm wondering if this is the account I want to use. Okay, so I want your attention on my screen for the next few minutes. Okay, maybe this was not a good idea. Let this. I'm going to sign in using a different account so that you get to see the process from the beginning. Because on some of my accounts, it is already I have done a lot of things, so I want you to start from scratch. So I want to pick an account where I have not. It's a clean, a clean slate, if you can say that. Okay. Just give me that. So this is the information that you'll be asked to. Okay, now that we are signed in and we have a brand new Litmaps, how do I start searching for my literature? So you can start with a few keywords. So I want to use my favorite keywords of intermittent fasting. So what topic I use is immaterial. It all remains the same no matter what you're searching for. So I'll say intermittent fasting and diabetes. Because assume that I'm just starting out into this field. I have no idea what papers exist. I do not know what is the most important paper. So in that scenario, I can start with a few keywords. But what if you already have a collection of papers and you want to start your search based on those papers? Then you can import those papers using this feature called import. You can bring all your existing papers into Max and then start your search. But let us assume I want to start from the keywords. Anytime you give a set of keywords, remember this is a literature map. It cannot work with keywords. It can only work with papers because the tool is based on mapping out references and citations. So if some of you are on the Google Meet call, you should mute your laptop. Whose laptop is that? I can hear my own voice back. So I started with a set of keywords and now I have to decide which among these papers will I be using for creating my literature map. How do I decide? As someone who's new to the field, who has no idea whatsoever which is a good paper, normally in such scenarios, can you check whose laptop is that and turn off the sound, please? So is the one closed? No, if it is closed, it shouldn't be working. Yeah. Can the volunteers please go around, check whose laptop is that so that you know not great hearing your voice back. So I am going to pick a paper which has the highest number of citations and references. So this paper looks like a good option because it has 155 references, it has 951 citations. It was published in 2017, that is slightly old, 3 years older than what I would like to see, but it's okay. I'm willing to take this paper. So let us say I want to build my literature map just based on one single paper. So I'm going to just click on this paper and click on explore related papers. Now this tool will build my first ever literature map with around 20 papers in less than a minute. And now, what are all these circles? These circles basically represent your papers, and the lines that you see connecting them, these lines represent the citations or the citation links from multiple papers. And anytime you want to know, because this is an AI tool, just because this tool tells you that these are the most relevant papers, you don't have to trust it. You will have to validate every single paper before you build your literature. And also remember, you can make slight changes to the x-axis and y-axis. Right now on this map, the x-axis is on more recent publications, which means on the left-hand side, you have older papers. On the right-hand side, you have more recent papers. The y-axis is on citations, which means the papers that are on the top parts of the graph, they are the ones which have the highest citations. And as you go down, the number of citations for these papers are pretty less. So what is my next step? My next step is to read or find the title and abstract of each of these papers and then decide if I want to use the paper on my next round of search. Because Litmaps, remember, it has a bottom-up approach. At every single stage, you decide which of the papers will be used as the search criteria for finding your next level of papers. For validating that, I'm going to go into each of these individual circles. Let me click on the first paper. On the left panel, I see the title, I see the abstract. I'm going to read through this abstract and then decide if this paper should be there on my next round of search. And if I decide, yes, this is a good paper, I want it on my next round of search, I'm going to click on more like this. When I do that, this paper gets added. You see that now this paper has also become gray circle, which means this paper will be used for my next round of search. In addition to checking the title and abstract, you should also do something else, which is called tagging. So because LitMaps does not have a folder system, it does not have all your yellow folder within folder, none of that works in LitMaps. Instead, LitMaps offers a more dynamic way in which you can classify your papers using tags. Say for instance, in my case, I can give different disease names as the tags. Say I add one tag called diabetes that will have an yellow color. So where do I add tags? On the left panel, and then say I have one tag for obesity or overweight. And then I'm going to add one more tag for all these liver diseases. Then maybe one more for all the kidney diseases. In addition, I might also want to classify my papers depending on where I'm going to use this paper. So is this paper going to be a part of my introduction? Is it going to serve more for my methodology section or more for my discussion section? So I also want that classification. So say I have one color code for the introduction, one code for the discussion, and one for the methodology section. So this is not mandatory that you should follow the same method that I use. You can add tags as depending on how you want to classify your papers. So now that we have used so many colors, I want to go and find a slightly different color maybe. Okay, so I pick this color and then I say, okay, I missed that, but we could do it again. So I say methodology, and then pick a darker version of green, and we are done. Okay. So now I'll go back to my LitMaps. And I'm going to continue read this paper. So this paper I have already decided it's a good paper. I want it on my next round of search. That's why it is already added. Now I'm going to add tags. Maybe after reading through the paper, I decide it belongs to my introduction section. And this paper talks a lot about obesity, but it also talks about liver and maybe diabetes also. Now by doing this, I can color code each of my papers on the map. I go into the next paper, I don't see the abstract, so maybe I want to read the full text or see what information is available. Just click on the title. When you click on the title, it's a hyperlink. It will take you to the journal page, and if the full text or abstract is available, you get to read them on this page. So I read the paper, and then I decide, okay, so this is nice. I want this on my next search. I click on more like this, and then I also add tags. Maybe this paper serves me on my methodology, and it talks more about obesity. So I have two tags. Now similarly, the next paper, maybe I don't like this paper, so I'm not going to add it into more like this. I'm going to the next paper, add it, add some random tags. You're not supposed to add random tags. When you actually do it, you're supposed to validate each of the papers and add only tags that are appropriate. Okay? But just for the sake of demonstration, I'm just quickly adding a few tags to show you how it can work. Like this, tags. And I can keep doing this for all of these papers. Once I have validated this first set of papers, then you hit on refresh. But before doing this, add more papers. So say I'm going to add some of these papers also to show you how the secondary level of search looks like, and then click on refresh. And now say you can click. I'm doing this randomly. When you do it, this is going to take you at least half a day, where you have to validate each of the papers and then go for the secondary search, which is dependent on all the papers that you picked and you placed within the inner circle. If you remember how the first map looked, The inner map had very limited connections with each other. But now, the secondary set of papers that you have pulled out, you can see that they are more closely related. There are just so many relationships with the papers of your choice, which means that these papers are very, very specific. During your first search, you got 20 papers. Now, when you use 15 of those papers to build your literature, you hardly get 10 additional papers. As you keep taking this search further and further, the number of papers you discover will keep going down until a point when you have discovered all the papers in this cluster. That might happen somewhere around 100 200 papers depending on your field, or if your field is very narrow, you will exhaust all the papers in 20 30 papers even. So there is no specific number until the tool tells you all the papers are here, there are no more papers to find. You keep doing this, you keep validating each paper, read it, decide to add it, reject it, add tags, and keep doing this over and over. And when you are done building your final map with 100 papers or so, where do you find all these articles? You're going to find it in this feature called articles. Now, this will have the complete list of papers that you picked. You can then decide to choose all the papers, or you can just do a shift and pick papers. And once you are done picking the necessary papers, you can export this using these three dots below. So click on export. You can export these papers as a big text file or as an RIS, add it into your reference manager. In case you are using Zotero, you can sync these papers directly to Zotero. You don't have to leave the Bitmaps interface at all. So when am I using Bitmaps? And also, why should I use Bitmaps when SciSpace will give me hundreds of papers? Remember, SciSpace is still a keyword-based search tool, whereas Bitmaps applies a much more complex algorithm. So when you want to directionally find a set of papers, you will be using Bitmaps. Also, which should I use first? Should I start my search with SciSpace or Elicit or Bitmaps? I would say you should be using them both parallel. When you start with a critical research question in your head, you start with SciSpace. Start with SciSpace, build those initial set of papers, take those papers out of SciSpace as a bibliographic information, throw it into Bitmaps to make sure there are no unwanted papers, unrelated papers, and you can prune your collection of papers on Bitmaps. The other way around also works. When you already have an idea on what your literature collection should look like, start with a small set of papers in Litmaps, build your literature collection of 50, 60 papers on Litmaps, export it, find the PDFs, and then use the extract data feature on SciSpace so that you can extract very specific data from these papers. So these tools need not necessarily be used in a sequence. They can be very efficiently used in tandem with each other. So I am going to give you 5 minutes to explore Litmaps before we go on to the next tools. And if you have any questions, please feel free to share. And also, where does Semantic Scholar fit into all of these connections? That again depends on how you want to use the tool. You can use Semantic Scholar, Litmaps, and SciSpace parallel. It also works. Start with Semantic Scholar, pull out 10 15 papers, throw it into SciSpace, expand the literature, bring those 100 papers into Litmaps, and do all the cleaning up and building in Litmaps. Or start with Litmaps, throw that collection into Semantic Scholar, expand it, throw it into SciSpace, get the data, and then decide which papers you're going to keep, which papers you're not going to use. The takeaway here is be open. Don't limit yourselves to, okay, I can only use this tool first, I should be using this tool second. There is no hierarchy here. Go crazy, use these tools in any order in tandem. Just make sure that it takes you from point A to point B. Whatever your goal is, the tools must be able to take you, and they adjust you. So you can pretty much use them any way you want it. Okay. So even those of you online, if you have a question, you can feel free to drop it into the chat box and we'll take it up from there.
Why not?
Have you
Logged in?
Okay.
Okay. Click on a new paper.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
I'm not sure why that happens. Click on a new one more paper and see if it works. Okay. This is weird. Normally it should work.
Because my Bitmaps is also on the free account. I'm only using a free account. I'm not using the pro account. So whatever you see on my screen, you must also be able to do it on your screen.
Someone is ready to someone asked you the question.
I've already answered the questions.
Okay.
Okay, so Shamira asks, what about plagiarism while writing with AI? So with AI tools, these tools by default don't plagiarize, but since these tools are basically probability models, which means they kind of replicate the content that already exists, there's a slight chance that it could show up as plagiarism. Also, even if it does not show up as plagiarism, remember that this content is still written by AI tools, therefore it could show up as AI generated content. So if you were a part of yesterday's lecture, this was one of the topics we discussed pretty extensively. This is why you will not just copy paste content from an AI tool onto your final manuscripts. Today's session, I suggest that you copy paste all the summary onto your MS Word. So just so that you have a starting material, you have a base material from which you can start thinking how you can structure your manuscripts better. What are the different topics that you should be covering and so on. It is not a suggestion where you can just use an AI tool, create a summary, copy paste that into a manuscript and directly go for your journal submission. So that's not how using AI tools work. It's more like they create the frameworks, they support you, they help you come up with nice perspectives, but the actual writing, framing, everything else has to still happen from the human. I hope that answered your question. So what I showed you up until now with litmaps is very basic. So apart from this, you would also be working on these slip maps. You can actually split these papers. Say you can pull some of these papers out, or you can add some of these papers into your search results. This will all be available on the Pro version. You can also create smaller lit maps from one big lit map. Say you pick all the papers you have added into the introduction and create a separate lit map for those papers. By doing that, you can search for if there are any additional papers in that category. Or once you have multiple smaller lit maps, you can bring it and merge it all into one big lit. Then continue searching. There are just so many possibilities here. So last 2 minutes for lit maps. Because before we break for lunch, I also want to introduce PaperPal, which will kind of solve all your writing requirements, your paraphrasing requirements. And then post lunch, we'll focus on reference managers. We'll also quickly look into a tool that can help you with your block diagrams, your flow charts, and so on. And then we'll wind up the session by somewhere around 3:15 or so. Okay, so time for the next set of tools. They are also literature mapping tools, but I'm introducing them because one of those tools is free. Litmaps is a paid tool, whereas a good alternative is called Research Rabbit. So this tool is free, and similar to what you saw with Litmaps, you can start a new collection. You can import your literature from Zotero once again, and say I already have a collection. So here I can just add papers, similar to what you did with Bitmaps. You start with a set of keywords or a few papers, and this is how the map will look like. So this is not a very organized map, not something you see with Bitmaps. So the reason why Bitmaps is pretty popular is because it is user friendly. But if you want a quick fix, you want an option which is free, then you should check out Research Rabbit. And one other good thing about Research Rabbit is it also offers you an option where you can find something called linked content. So linked content is where it gives you all these news articles, blog posts about your field of research. Sometimes this could also be important. You cannot just rely on scientific literature to know what is popular, what is trending, what is happening in the world outside academia. To know that, it is important you also have access to these linked content in the form of popular science articles, newspaper articles, and so on. Research Rabbit makes it possible for you to search those linked content also. But the catch is that I'm not very happy with the user friendliness of Research Rabbit, but it still gets your job done. If your aim is to start with a few papers and quickly build your literature of 100, 200 papers without spending much time on Semantic Scholar or Google Scholar, for instance, then Research Rabbit is your place to be. A third literature mapping tool that I want to introduce is Insightful, especially for two reasons. The first reason is on Insightful, you can get a lot of insights even when you start with a single paper. So I can start with my same set of keywords and similar to what we saw with Litmaps, you will have to pick one paper. Say I pick a paper published in 2020. Okay. And now Insightful will give you a nice literature map. Here again, the functionality of the map is pretty limited with Insightful also. But what is more important is Insightful will give you these nice lists of the most important papers in your field. All the review papers in your field will get collated into one single collection. So you don't have to go and hunt down all the review papers that were written in your field. Instead, just throw it into Insightful and you get to download all of those review papers as a single collection. Also, you only want papers that are from the top 100 authors in your field. You have a collection for that. Do you want to find which are the most important recent papers? There is another collection there. Similarly, you can find the top authors in your field, the upcoming authors in your field. Yesterday, I was talking about how when you're looking for collaborations, you should look for authors who are somewhere close to the same stage that as you are in your field. So maybe when you are new to research, you cannot go and establish collaborations with the top authors. They might not want to work with a newcomer. But these upcoming authors are super promising because they are authors who only have very few papers in their field, but these few papers have got so much of attention that they have made it to the top 100 list or so. Also, you want to know where most of your research is happening? The top institutions, the top journals, and also similar journals. So some of you had the question of where should I publish my research? Not maybe in the top journals when you start out, but you can look at these similar journals, and these are good choices where you can start thinking about submitting your papers because it is already well established that these journals are publishing papers in your field, giving you a better chance at having your papers accepted into publication. A second use of Insightful is when you're working in a multidisciplinary approach. When you want to bring together two different fields and do research on that. Say, for instance, I want to use something called carbon nanodots for treating, say, some sort of a cancer. Let us say liver cancer. So it is very difficult for me to find papers that talk both about nanoparticles and liver cancer. I want to find how literature connects these seemingly very far off fields together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick two papers. One paper specific for these carbon nanodots, one paper specific for the liver cancer or whatever I'm interested in, hit on search. Now, this literature connector is going to tell you how these two papers, seemingly unrelated two papers, are connected. Now you have very limited papers. So there are only five papers that give you direct connections between these two papers, but five is still better than nothing. What I'll do is I'll save the details for these five papers and use these five papers as the inputs on a new literature map to start from these five papers and slowly build on my literature collection, which talks both about cancer and also applying nanotechnology into treating cancer or delivering drugs for cancer. So that is what this feature called literature connector can do for you. So now I'm going to give you 5 minutes where you'll be exploring lit maps some more if you want to. You'll be exploring research Rabbit, and you'll be exploring this tool called Insightful. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Have you logged in? Just tell your assistant. Come on, this thing up. Just come on. That is the map. Those circles, that is the map. Yeah, it will not look as beautiful as it looks. That is the connector. That is on the right side. That's a different search. When you want to connect two papers, it's a different search. This, what you have done is you have started from one paper and you have built a map. So there are two applications to it. And when you scroll down, you'll see those top 100 papers, top institutions, top journals, and all those options are just below the map. So those of you who are done exploring these tools, you can go ahead and start installing the MS Word plugin for PaperPal. Go to PaperPal, and then look for an MS Word plugin. Just Google MS Word plugin PaperPal, you land on the right page. Install that plugin, that will get added on to your MS Word documents. It is not that you should have the plugin. You can also explore the tool on the website online, but it is much more easier. When you want to have a language tool, always have it as a plugin because anyways you're going to work in MS Word. Doesn't make sense to switch between MS Word and the website to do your paraphrasing, proofreading and stuff. So once you install it, becomes very easy. Okay, it's time that all of you start installing the MS Word plugin
so that
so that we can go ahead and explore PaperPal. Okay, to answer your question, Dr. Krishna, I wouldn't pick a best tool, but if my purpose is to just build literature from a collection of papers, I would go with LitMaps because it has a lot of functionalities. I'm a huge fan of the tag feature on LitMaps and also the drag and drop feature on LitMaps. That is the most versatile tool. But if you are looking for a quick search, you want to have a free tool, you're not particularly looking just for literature, but also additional information like the top institutions, top journals, and so on, then I'll pick Insightful. Insightful is not completely free, but for minimal use cases, you can use that. But when your goal is just to build literature, you don't want a tool that will help you manage your literature, but just a tool where you can quickly find the top 100 papers related to a set of papers you already have or so, then I'll go with Research Rabbit because it's a free tool. I can always build my literature collection on Research Rabbit, take it elsewhere to do my analysis, take it elsewhere to create my bibliography and so on. So the answer depends on what you're looking for. But if you want one versatile tool where you can find papers, save it, tag it, and do a lot more with literature, then Litmaps would be my tool of choice. So let me go find MS Word document for myself. And then I have both Writeful and PaperPal as plugins. So I'm going to log into my PaperPal plugin. And I believe this is the Pro version. So you might have some, yeah. So this is PaperPal Prime, which means it might look slightly different for you than it is for me. But most of the functionalities you'll still be able to explore. So can I have 2 minutes of your time on the screen? Still the same question. Yeah, Dr. Sushila, I see that you have a question. Can you please drop it into the chat box? If not, I'll finish the demo of PaperPal, and then if you want to really unmute and ask the question, then we'll do that. Okay. So, Paperpal, remember, is basically from a language editing company, which means the forte, their forte, or our forte, because I'm also a part of the company, is in taking care of the language issues in your manuscript. So, by default, when you open the Paperpal plugin, it is going to scan your document and give you all the language errors on the side panel. But it does not make any changes to your manuscript or document. Anytime you want to make changes, you will have to check each of these suggestions, and only when you accept. So even within each of these clusters, sometimes you will find that there are individual suggestions that are made, and you have more control over what changes actually happen in the manuscript. Paperpal almost doesn't give you an option where you can do a global change. It's not like, okay, I accept all the changes, go and make all the changes into my manuscript. This is where you normally end up having problems. This is where your manuscripts start showing up as AI written content because you did a global change of all the language issues on your manuscript. So never do that. Pick each of these issues and try to work your way through. Also, Paperpal will check your manuscript to see if there are any consistency issues. Sometimes we tend to, because we are educated from the British system, but when you read papers in the American language conventions. So our spellings and some of the uses, we tend to get confused between the British convention and the American convention. Most of the journals allow you to pick one. You can use British or American, but not a mix of both. That is not allowed. And these inconsistencies can be caught by Paperpal, and it will tell you what the inconsistencies are. This is pretty basic, which Grammarly can do, which Quillbot can do, Strinka can do, several other tools can do. But when it comes to the rewrite options, Paperpal gives you a lot many choices. Paraphrase is pretty simple. You pick a paragraph you want to paraphrase, click on generate, and you get a paraphrased text. The goal here is not to change the content, it is to keep the core content similar, but then the words get changed. That is basically paraphrasing. Or say you want to reduce the word count, you'll be using the feature called trim. So on trim, the focus is to not change the words, but bring down the size of the content as down as possible. And on any good day, Paperpal can easily do a 10 to 30% word count reduction, which means for every 100 words you give, Paperpal can cut down 10 to 30 words, which is a very good word count reduction. And to achieve 30% word count reduction is even difficult for human editors on some of those days. Then you have an option where you can make your content more academic, because we tend to use a lot of colloquial words which are right in the informal context, but they are not right when you use them in a very formal manuscript. Say, for instance, in this case, give injection to the patient is perfectly normal English. You can use it in your everyday usage. But on a paper, we don't say give injection, we say administer injection to the patient. We don't say every day, or at least not like this. You don't say 5 days every day. You say every day for 5 days and so on. It is at these junctures where there are such colloquial expressions, you can use this feature called Make Academic, and the tool will convert your non-academic sentences into academic sentences. This is one very special feature with Paperpal. And then you can decide if you want to use it, if you want to regenerate a different option, and so on. What if I don't want an entire sentence to be changed? I have only problem with the keyword or one word or so, or I have a problem with the phrase. In such cases, you can just pick the phrase and use this option called synonyms. Or say, for instance, I have used one word too many times in my manuscript. It feels very redundant. I want to find good academic alternatives for this particular expression. In that case, use this synonyms option. It might not 100% give you very valid suggestions, but you will still have a handful of suggestions, and you can still decide which of these suggestions sound good to you and you can start using it. The next feature you can try out is Write. I'll not go very deep into this feature because this is basically a Gen AI writing feature which we did explore on SciSpace itself, right? So you just have to give a prompt or you can include a document and then ask Paperpal to continue writing, expand on a thought, or write the counter argument for a particular paragraph, and Paperpal will pretty much keep writing. But remember, the write feature is only for writing. It will not add citations, it will not give you references. So this feature is a great brainstorming feature, but not good if you're trying to create your draft literature review because no citation, no references doesn't make sense. You have to go back and add citations. It is at such scenarios that you should be using this feature called Research Site, where you can ask questions similar to what we asked with Consensus, Elicit, SciSpace, and your questions will be answered properly on the site panel with citations, and all of these citations will be added as all the references will be listed just below the paragraph, not just that, because Paperpal and SciSpace, they are in a competition to become the A to Z tool for academia. Paperpal also has this feature where you can save these references into what is known as the citation library, which is kind of Paperpal's own reference manager. So you can just click on these three dots, add to library, and once you're on the library, you will have all of your literature collection. And anytime you want to cite this paper within your document, just click on Cite, and that will open up your citation. You can copy the citation, paste it into the text. You can also copy the reference and add it to your reference list. Not just that, you can restructure or change the style of your reference into 10,000 plus different styles, similar to what we saw with SciSpace and other tools, which means your reference management can also be taken care of to a certain extent when you're using Paperpal. I will not show you the translate option because I'm not a fan of the translate option on Paperpal. I believe SciSpace does a much better job. The Paperpal's translate works more for global languages like Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, German, all that it works well. But when it comes to local Indian languages, SciSpace does a much better job, so we will not go into that. Then you have this feature called templates, where you can ask the tool to help you create templates for any kind of paper. So, do you want a template for a research article? Then you can describe the research article using a small prompt, and the tool will give you all the TOC. The entire TOC will be generated. Similarly, this can happen for all the other types of documents like essays, case reports, and so on. In addition, when you're done writing a manuscript and say you want to have ideas for adding titles, what title can I give for my manuscript? In such cases, you can pick this option called title, and you can ask the tool to generate draft titles for you based on the entire document. And the tool will give you at least 5 different choices based on the content of your manuscript. This will make it pretty easier for you to come up with a good title. Don't use the title as it is, but then use these draft titles to come up with your own title. Do you want to write an abstract? You can finish your manuscript and click on abstract. Paperpal will generate an abstract based on your entire manuscript. Use this as the draft abstract, and you can pretty much prepare a very good abstract in less than 30 to 40 minutes by using Paperpal. Don't simply copy paste this abstract and use it for your submission, but use this as the starting point, as the framework to help you refine and fine tune your own abstract. Do you want keyword suggestions? Do you want a summary? That can happen. And if you have ever submitted your paper to publishers like Elsevier, you know that several of Elsevier journals ask for what are known as highlights. Highlights are just 3 to 5 bullet points of the key points from your paper, and each bullet point can only be 85 characters long, so on and so forth. Do you want to generate those highlights? That is also possible with Paperpal. It does not stop there. Paperpal also has solutions where it will help you write most of your formal emails. You just have to give the to and from details, and describe the purpose of your email in a few words, and PaperPal will help you draft a general email. But then it also has very good templates for drafting your cover letters. When you submit your paper to the journal, you should generate a cover letter. PaperPal can help you draft the cover letter. Or do you want to inquire the status of your paper? After you submit your paper, say it has been 2 months, you did not hear back from the journal. Unless you hear a rejection from the journal, you cannot submit your paper to a second journal, because at any given point in time, you are allowed to submit your draft manuscript to only one journal. And only when the journal rejects your paper can you go and submit it to a second journal. So in that case, if you want to know the status of your paper, you don't have to sit and draft an email. Just give the necessary details. PaperPal will draft your email. Do you want to resubmit your manuscript? Do you want to withdraw your manuscript? For every such scenarios you might encounter during the publication process, PaperPal has a solution where you can create the corresponding emails. The check feature is pretty interesting one on PaperPal. So where you can get a good plagiarism check for your manuscript, but this will work only as a individual user. You cannot use this unlimited times. You can only check 7,000 to 10,000 words in a month, which means if you have the Prime subscription to PaperPal, as an individual user, you can check your manuscript twice in a month, which is more than sufficient, because you don't keep doing plagiarism check every 2 days, right? You only do a plag check after you're done with your manuscript and you're ready for your submission. It also does your journal submission check for you to ensure that all those 40 different criteria were right. And this is a recent feature that was introduced, where you can get a mock peer review for your paper. So you can ask PaperPal if the flow and structure of your manuscript is good, if there are any missing sections, or is your writing good enough, should it be improved in some ways, and PaperPal will give you suggestions as to how you can improve these aspects. And because PaperPal is backed by a huge team of editors, which includes myself, you will also get to book a human editor or submit your work to a human editor to get it edited, formatted, and so on. This, of course, comes at an additional cost. So a recent feature that PaperPal introduced just 1 week ago is this feature called Chat PDF. So Chat PDF is something similar to what you see with SciSpace, the Copilot feature on SciSpace, where you can upload a PDF and then you can ask questions about the PDF. You can select some sections on the PDF and ask for explanation, summary, and so on. So that is pretty much everything you will need when you are trying to write your draft manuscript and get it to the initial submission stage. PaperPal will have a solution for every single one of your requirements. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to explore this tool before we all break for lunch.
So any questions? Okay, I see a question on the advice given session. Dr. Stephen asks, what is the difference between Quillbot and Paperpad? So Quillbot and Paperpad, they pretty much work similarly when you are talking in terms of proofreading your manuscript, in terms of paraphrasing your manuscript. But when it comes to additional features and having one tool that can integrate pretty much everything from brainstorming to getting a mock peer review done, Paperpath is way ahead of the game. And also Quillbot offers very limited features for free. Paperpath gives you much more leverage even on the free version. So that is the difference. And also Quillbot, I'm not sure if it started out as an academic tool, though it did grow into an academic tool. Paperpath was an academic tool right from the beginning, which means they started building their tool on the test data, and with AI, it's all about the data. So if they got that right, then the output also looks way better, which is, if you do a quick comparison between Quillbot and Paperpath, you'll be able to see that difference. So any questions before we kind of get out the next 5 minutes or so? And before we break for lunch, I would like to have a group photo with all of you.
as the record for playthrough of the workshop. You can just head out to the same place like you went out or just on the road, anywhere you're comfortable and okay. Just go out, take a quick picture, and then we'll back for lunch. And then we'll reassemble at 2 o'clock is the game plan for now. So 2 o'clock is not exactly 2 o'clock. Try to show up 5 to 10 minutes early so that we can quickly set up and start the session sharply by 2.
So if
So if there are no questions, then we can think about winding this up.
and
And can the laptops be left here or should we carry the laptops?
We can leave it here? Okay. Okay, so you can also leave your laptops here. And for those of you who are online, please join back before 2 and we'll see you then. I'm going to end the call right now. I'll come back and maybe we'll have a new the same one. So we'll just minimize it and leave, right? Okay, so I'm not leaving the call, I'm going to just minimize it and leave. Similarly with the other computer as well. So that we can quickly start from where we left. So we'll head out with
ఆలోచించలేదు. మీ ఇష్టం సార్, నేను ఏం చెప్తే చేద్దాం.